The following production is brought to you by the Talkin' Buds Leaf Show.
Here we go, Talkin' Buds Leaf Show. I've said numerous times that our off-season philosophy is when there's things to talk about and some news, we will be on to talk about them. And, oh man, there are things to talk about. We are literally just hitting the record button as pretty much immediately after the Brad Treliving, Brendan Shanahan, and Keith Pelley news conference. Let's start by giving our take on that, and then we'll move into the dismissal of Sheldon Keefe, and then we'll talk about Monday, because I have some things I want to say about some of the nonsense that came out of the players' mouths on Monday. But my takeaway in watching that was Brad Treliving just spoke circles around Brendan Shanahan and Keith Pelley. Keith Pelley didn't need to be there. He was there solely to put a face on MLSE. Like, He basically right off the bat was like, I've only been here for 4 weeks. What was his line he kept saying over and over?
Here we go. For everyone on YouTube, here we go. I'm going to pull up my sleeve here.
Yeah.
I'm going to call the nearest tattoo parlor. And then I got to get chemistry and unity on my forearm, because that's
Keith Pelley's line.
That's the Keith Pelley mantra, baby.
The Twitter really liked his line, "Good is not good enough." I actually think that is a good line, and you could the players themselves, the core four, should get that tattooed on them. But anyways, yeah, Pelley was there just to put a face on MLSE. He didn't really add much to the conversation. My main takeaway from watching that is, like I said earlier, Brad Treliving is by far the best speaker of the three of them. And if you want to figure out or diagnose what the culture issue is with the Toronto Maple Leafs, look no further than Brendan Shanahan. The reason why the culture of this organization has gotten to where it is because of Brendan Shanahan. And my main hope after listening to Brad Treliving is Brendan Shanahan gets out of this guy's way and lets him cook and make the changes he wants to make, because the difference between Treliving and Shanahan was simply Brad Treliving calling out the issues. Our special teams aren't good enough. We don't play a conducive playoff style. It shouldn't just be about 4 guys. We have to do a better job of distributing money. And it's not hard. And we're going to talk about the players later, but this is the issue I have with them as well. It's not hard. Just answer the questions directly, call it what the actual issue is. But you look at Brendan Shanahan, and it's stick handling around questions. I'm not going to comment. I'm not going to apologize for believing in people. These guys want to win just as much.
48 hours off.
Oh, yeah, the worst one.
It's
just like they're 48 hours after losing Game 7, and that's why they answer the questions the way they did. What happened to this guy? Yeah. This guy was a fucking warrior when he played in the National Hockey League. What happened to this guy? What happened?
I don't know. And he was talking about playoff teams and playoff success. It's like, dude, you were on a generational hockey team in terms of getting it done in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I don't understand what happened to you between, I guess the last time you won a cup was probably in the early 2000s, probably 2002. I don't know what happened from you from there to now, but you have grown soft. You really have. And that press conference, I'm walking away with, I got nothing out of that. All I got was Brad Treliving is a way better public speaker than Brendan Shanahan and Keith Pelley, and just answers questions with a genuine tone and more honestly, and he kind of gives you what you want more than Brendan Shanahan. That's really what I got out of that press conference.
It's just stock lines, and they did say at the end of the day, someone's gonna listen to you and me start here and go, well, what do you expect them to say?
Yeah, that's where I was going.
I think Brad Treliving is the answer. It's just honestly answer the questions. Don't shy away from admitting that the team hasn't been good enough. And yes, Brendan Shanahan said change is on the table and there's a time for patience, and this isn't the time for patience, and that's great. But I don't know, man. The words country club have been thrown around about this team a lot, and I don't know. I just watched Brendan Shanahan there, and I'm like, you've created this culture, man. I got to tell you, when Brendan Shanahan's career is over as president of the Maple Leafs, this guy needs to go and teach a seminar on how to be a salesman because he's incredible. Like, to get MLSE and the board's buy-in to keep him around after this is it's unbelievable sales job by him. And I don't want to hear, well, they've been a really good regular season team. Okay, sure. Ryan, how many Atlantic Division titles have they won in Brendan Shanahan's tenure?
None. Yeah.
How many President's Trophies have they won in Brendan Shanahan's tenure?
Yeah.
And I don't want to hear that they won the Canadian Division. The Canadian division was a joke. It was a complete joke. It doesn't count. Sorry, Brendan.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just look at this and I'm like, this is the issue. I was really happy with what I heard from Brad Treliving. I hope that they carry into the offseason. I think it's still on the table. Obviously, they weren't going to comment about asking Marner to waive his no move or Tavares to waive his no move. I don't think anyone expected that. But if you really want to make substantial change to this team, that is what has to happen.
Yeah. Well, my first question today was, why is Brendan Shanahan just automatically back as the president of this team? Like, to me, that just kind of like, yeah, I know. And that's, yeah.
Because Keith Pelly came in and he saw chemistry and unity between Shanahan and Treliving.
That was number one. It's like, today these three guys are speaking, so that means like Brendan Shanahan's not going to speak with those two other guys if he's no longer the president of this team. It would have just come out that he was relieved of his duties. Maybe you'd hear from him, maybe you didn't. So that was number one. It's like, okay, I guess this guy's just back. Okay, that's kind of puzzling, whatever. And then Keith Pelly's asked about it, and chemistry and unity it was kind of like,
he said he's only been here for 4 weeks.
I don't want to brag Keith Pelly too much because it's like he has a big boy job. I don't know what it entails. Like, that's a whole different universe.
You're literally managing a board.
Yeah, like
that is run by the two biggest rivals in all of Canadian business.
Yeah, I could sit here and I can criticize a hockey team. I am way too stupid to start criticizing people and jobs like that. Like, I don't know what his job entails, but from someone on the outside looking in, the answer of over the past 4 weeks, which happens in a blink of an eye, I saw chemistry and unity, and it's like, I don't know what that means, man. I really don't. It's like I could bullshit somebody for 4 weeks that I have chemistry and unity with someone I hate. Like, it's really not that hard to show someone, to give a good impression to someone that you have all the attributes to be successful. Like, the number one question is like, why is Brendan Shanahan just back? And I feel like it's just going to slip under the table, and it just is what it is.
I'll tell you,
I don't know.
I'll give you my take on it. I think Brendan Shanahan's job is twofold. Okay, it's to be the president of the Toronto Maple Leafs hockey team and to be the president of the Toronto Maple Leafs as a business. And as a business, they print money, like with or without them. And they've been a team. I've said this about Brendan Shanahan and MLSE for a while. The reason why they've been so hesitant to move off the core four is since they've come together, the core four has been a lock to make the playoffs. Like, yes, they make the playoffs. They don't win division titles, but they make the playoffs, okay? One of the reasons why they've been scared to trade a Marner or to trade a Nylander when they were able to or whatever is because they're terrified of taking 2 steps backward or 1 step backward in order to take 2 forward and the business ramifications of that.
But when they were awful from the first lockout to when they made it the playoffs in 2016, did we ever speak about this team being in any sort of financial? They were still printing money. The business was still booming.
Yes.
The building was still full. It's like, if anything, if you were to look at it as a smart guy, you are actually running the risk of ruining your business if you run this back one more time. I think fans will happily show up in the building next year. If you came out today and said, we might have to take 2 steps back by getting rid of somebody, and that's the reality, I think you'd have more Leaf fans being like, fuck yeah, I'll be in the building next year to see what you guys put together because I can't watch this any longer. They're running the risk of ruining their business more if it's the same again. That's I don't buy that at all.
That's the most puzzling part about it, Ryan. That's what makes this so puzzling. It's just the refusal. Again, you're not going to come out and say, we want to move Mitch Marner, because if you're going to orchestrate that trade, there's tons of things that go into it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just
don't want to hear that excuse of like, they're worried about okay, they've had 3 extra playoff games. I know that's a lot of money still, but like, if they were going, like, come on, like, it's not a huge thing when it comes to business. Like, that place was still full when Phil Kessel was ass with Dion Phaneuf. Like, come on.
So I think this doesn't change my mind in terms of I think there is going to be change in this offseason. I think they're going to explore all avenues. I don't think it's an absolute lock that when we open training camp in September that Marner's not here and Tavares isn't here. Especially John Tavares. I don't think that that's a lock at all. But I come away from that today saying I think these guys understand that, like, you can't just trot the same group back here next year. I was very impressed with Brad Treliving. I think Keith Pelly, you're right. It's like we can poke fun at Keith Pelly, but he was literally just there to put a face on MLSE.
I don't want to.
Yeah. And Brendan Shanahan is the culprit for why the culture of this organization is the way it is.
And here's what I don't like about it either. It's like last season they get rid of Dubas. Okay. Dubas is gone. The whole thing happened. But I don't like the bleeding over of eras here. It's like Dubas leaves, but Shanny's here. Let's keep Keefe. Now we're going to get rid of Keefe, and we're going to keep... it's just like there's too much... it's like they should have just taken the opportunity to be like, everybody, get out of here.
Yes.
And let's just start with people who have new ideas and new takes, whether they're right or wrong. I just don't like how everything's just like the fact that Brendan Shanahan's standing up there and saying those things, it's like, I didn't expect you to come out and be like, we're going to try and trade Mitch Marner, even though sometimes he did sneak in a certain individuals, and we all know who he's talking about. We're 16 and 91.
Yep.
But it's like, dude, no one believes that you can do what needs to be done, like, or influence Treliving to do what needs to be done. Like, I just don't, no one believes it.
I don't see why you couldn't just remove Brendan Shanahan and have Brad Treliving report to Keith Pelly. There's so many other teams in the league where the GM reports directly to the owner.
Yeah,
so
I don't.
Like
yeah,
I don't understand why we need Brendan Shanahan anymore, personally. But it just is what it is. He's here for at least one more year. That's my takeaway from this, and that's that. Anyways, let's move on. News came down yesterday that the Leafs had dismissed Sheldon Keefe. Let's talk about Sheldon first. Sheldon then went on to release a video saying goodbye to Leafs Nation. And I got to tell you, my hat's off to the guy. Just immaculate vibes in this video. He's on the back of a like he's in front of a body of water. He literally looks like he's in heaven. He looks like he's talking to you from heaven.
Yeah, the first comment on one of the Instagram pages, like, this guy literally looks like he's in heaven right now.
You said earlier he looks like a Force ghost.
Yeah, that beautiful horizon in the background.
Look at him. Look at that.
It's like it looks like he's already lost like 10 pounds.
That face screams, this isn't my problem anymore.
Yeah.
Screams it.
Yeah. That was an interesting video.
And you know what? I actually thought it was a smart idea.
Yeah.
Just put out a 3-minute video. Then you don't have to do media. Then you don't have to answer questions.
I watched that and I was like, I don't know how I feel about this, but I think that video kind of like sums up how I feel about Sheldon Keefe as a coach and a human being. It's like when Mike Babcock finished here, it was so clear that this guy was a bit of a dino when it comes to his social practices. And I think him just kind of doing his shtick wore on people. So the time he was gone, it was like, see you later, you clown, like, whatever. And then he went on to ruin his career even more last season. But with Keefe, it's like, this guy did not get the job done. He was clearly not the guy to do what needs to be done to get this team over the hump. But you watch that video and it's like, I kind of have sympathy for the guy.
Yeah.
So like,
dude, his whole vibe in that video is Leafs Nation.
Yeah.
Not my fucking problem anymore.
Yeah.
See ya.
And it's like you just couldn't get the job done, but you're leaving, and I have no like F you attitude towards the guy at all. And I hope he stays away from that guy in Pittsburgh.
Yes.
Do not get back in bed with that guy.
Pierre LeBrun yesterday said that he is shot to the top of the list of candidates for the New Jersey Devils job.
I think he could benefit from going and being a good assistant under another head coach to maybe get some more perspective, but I don't think he doesn't deserve another opportunity as a head coach in this league. But just like, happy he's gone. He had a good run, good opportunity. But watching that video, it's like I kind of have sympathy for the guy. And I've always said that like he always came across as a guy you'd like to have a beer with. And And if I was a rich man,
if I was going to tee you up for this.
If I was a rich man and I just had money to spend, I would offer that guy his yearly salary to come to my house, sit down with me for an afternoon or an evening, and get him to just release every gory detail of what went on there the past 5 seasons.
Sheldon, how many times did you want to do something and you were told no by Mitch Marner and his representatives?
Yeah.
When you called them soft and purposeless last year, who was it in the Marner camp that reprimanded you, that made Kyle, or reprimanded Dubas, that made you walk back those comments?
Yeah.
How big of a pain in the ass is Mitch Marner in general on a day-to-day basis? These are the questions that I'd be asking.
Yeah, I know Kyle Dubas kind of got you into this position, and you kind of like, I don't know if you owe him for that, but you thank him or whatever. But if I'm that guy, I'm going nowhere close to working with that guy again. Go be your own guy somewhere else and carve out your own reputation.
I actually think the New Jersey job is a good job for him. It's like a young up and coming team, and I think
kind of leafy though.
But he can take the lessons that he learned from here and apply them to. Yeah. You can't tell me, like, you just watch that, how many like internal politics are going on here that this guy had to fucking deal with.
Yeah.
So many of them.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that that's not the case in other organizations, but man, like, that's one bit of slack you have to cut the guy is the inmates run the asylum here because the president has allowed them to do so. Yeah. It's that simple. Now, as we turn the page to who the next coach is, I listened to sports radio all day yesterday after the news broke. It honestly seems like it's Craig Berube's job if he wants it. There's other names that are being thrown around like Todd McClellan, Gerard Gallant. The name that is very, very interesting and intriguing is Joel Quenneville, in the sense of, in my opinion, I think in a perfect world, Joel Quenneville is the perfect guy for this job because he has a proven track record of taking young hot shots with big egos and getting them to buy in and taking them to a Stanley Cup. But is Gary going to release him from his exile? I don't think so, especially not to the media market that is the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Yeah, if I'm the Toronto Maple Leafs, great candidate, but I don't want to dip my toe in those waters. See, I really don't. I don't think he went on a great all-time run, but like it's just that is not. I don't want to. I think as a business, let's not bring more heat on ourselves and have to answer more questions.
So I think it's Craig Berube's job, if he wants it, is the sense I get. You know, you look at, Berube's naysayers say that he lucked into a miracle run with a hot goalie. I'm not going to sit here and say that I know everything there is to know about Craig Berube, but I know he's the type of coach that is going to push these guys and is not going to send Mitch Marner out on the power play when Mitch Marner stinks. And that's really what they need. It's kind of funny how I was thinking of the players yesterday, and I was like, if any of these players are sad that Sheldon Keefe is gone, look in the fucking mirror, boys. Like, you got him fired. Your inability to perform in the big moments cost this guy his job. Yes, he played a role in it with the accountability and played a role in not making adjustments and having take forever to adjust line combinations and all that. But, like, you're going to get a hard ass in here now because that's what you've done. You're going to get a guy like a Craig Berube in here now that's going to push you, and he's not going to be your best friend, and he's not going to hold your fucking hand, and he's not going to give you everything you want, and you got no one to blame for that but yourselves, fellas.
Yeah.
No one.
Yep. Gonna set it better myself.
Is there a name floating around out there that scares you?
I think all these coaches that are being bandied about are all just kind of in the cycle of getting hired and getting fired. Like Gerard Gallant, Craig Berube. Like, you look at the guys who are coaching in the league right now. How many times has Peter Laviolette been fired and let go? And Pete DeBoer and like it's that cycle of guys who are just haven't aged out yet, who still have the ability to get a job. I don't know these guys. Like, if you look at all of them, they all have like their faults in their resume. Like Todd McClellan, I'm sure is a great coach, but you look at what he's done in this league, he hasn't won anything. Like Craig Berube won a Stanley Cup with a team that was kind of an improbable Stanley Cup winner. But he's also been like going fired by a couple jobs. I think right now, if you really want the hard ass, like, you bring in Berube, like, why not? He has won before, so at least you have that. I know people aren't going to let go, especially with the Hurricanes on the verge of getting swept. People are not going to let go of them just breaking the bank on bringing the bod in here if he doesn't re-sign with the Hurricanes. But I think, I don't know, man. I at this point, it's like
they're in a tough spot because if you wait for Brind'Amour, you'll lose Berube.
I think Craig Berube will sit on his ass until
waiting to get the Leaf job.
Yeah, I do. I really do.
The one guy, and he seems like a wonderful human being, and I love listening to him on the radio. And I think he just seems like just a sweetheart of a guy. Is that I really don't want them, would like them to stay away from. Rather is Bruce Boudreau.
That's not happening.
I
think he's out of that cycle of like getting hired and getting.
Just stay away from it. Like he's just too nice a guy, and these guys need a hard ass in here. They just had a nice guy.
I think Peter Laviolette is like the perfect example of why you can't always judge like a guy who's been hired and fired so many times. Like right now, he is coaching a team that is on a fast track to the Stanley Cup final and haven't lost a game in the playoffs.
There's
yet.
a certain Florida team that's going to have.
Yeah, I know,
but
he's had so many jobs and he's failed so many times. But like eventually, you can get that group with the right mix. Look at Paul Maurice.
Yeah,
the guy didn't win anything. He got fired with the Leafs. He couldn't get it done in Carolina.
He dipped in Winnipeg.
Yeah, and then in Winnipeg, he was there for so long, couldn't get it done. And then the Panthers were a middling team. He threw an absolute spaz at the Scotiabank Arena, and all of a sudden that team is a juggernaut. Yeah. So I think it's hard to like judge some of these Todd McClellans and Berubes and whoever's out there. It's like eventually these guys are good coaches, and eventually when they get a group that fits together, then they look like great coaches. Like I don't know. I think right now, just hire somebody. Anything is better than what you've had right now. Just hire someone. I want them to hire someone with a bit of edge. That's for sure. Like you can't have another guy in here who's going to be like progress, like cater to the player. Like no. Like you need someone who's a bit of a hard ass, and
you need someone that's going to hold. Like I keep coming back to what I just watched with Brendan Shanahan. And what we're going to talk about in a few minutes with these players. Holy Jesus. Accountability is not a thing in the Toronto Maple Leaf organization and hasn't been since Kyle Dubas was named general manager. And you need someone in here that's going to say, I don't care that you have an $11 million contract. You suck. And we're going to put somebody else out there on the power play. Yeah. The one thing that I just keep coming back to with this last Boston series is I look at a guy like Simone Benoit, who's making under $1 million, who is putting his body on the line, shift in and shift out, and he's looking across that dressing room at Mitch Marner, who's going to have the balls to look at this Maple Leaf camp and say, I'm a $12 million hockey player. And not once did Mitch Marner have to suffer consequences for playing the way he did, because we all have to bow down to Mitch's ability and skill that he has. That is what needs to be eradicated from this organization, and that Brad Treliving is going to do his best. If they hire a Berube or whoever, I'm sure he's going to do his best. But until Brendan Shanahan is removed, there's always going to be areas of that within this organization.
Which is why that goes back to what I said 10 minutes ago.
Why is he still here?
It's just like,
why is he still here?
That's why people in the fan base are going to be like, why is he still here? Because all he's proven is that he's not willing to do what needs to be done. Like he orchestrated this absolute catastrophe. So I don't know, man.
All right. So I'm going to get into it here. I'm going to try my best not to throw an absolute heated spaz here, because I'm not going to lie. I was pretty fucking mad listening to these entitled egomaniacs speak to the media.
48 hours after they were fighting for their playoff lives.
Oh my God. Just like these guys have no idea. They have no clue. It is so frustrating. I actually thought our episode after Game 7 was pretty measured and on the rails. I'm going to try and keep this on the rails, but I'm going to have a very hard time doing so. Let's start with the good. Okay, Morgan Riley, Ilya Samsonov, Sheldon Keefe, 3 guys who spoke, who said all the right things. We're not good enough. I wasn't good enough. We're very disappointed. We're very upset. Whatever. I tip my hat. I was very, very hard on Morgan Riley and how he played. I don't think he was very good in that series, but I tip my hat to him for having the stones to stand in front of the media and say, I wasn't good enough. And kind of went McKinney and was like, I haven't done anything. And like, I tip my hat to the guy. Well done. Now, let's get into the core 4, shall we? I want to separate it. I want to separate Tavares. He's a whole other conversation. We'll get to him in a minute. The one thing that people were really upset about was the Mitch Marner were kind of treated like gods comment. I actually thought of the three of them, Marner was the one who made me the least angry. The gods comment, like, yes, I'm sure if he could go back in time, he would choose a different way to describe that.
Mitch Marner's not going to be putting his resume as a public speaker anytime soon.
Yes. So it's
so
just
I think
like
sometimes he just has like diarrhea of the mouth and says something that he shouldn't have said.
The message that he was trying to convey isn't inaccurate. Yes, they are treated like gods here, but all the more reason why you should he wasn't saying they didn't value that. It's just all three of them, Matthews, Marner, and Nylander, all come off with this chip on their shoulder. Not one of them is going to take responsibility for their play, and all of them are like, well, it's hard to play here and whatever. So Marner said he intends to stay here. We'll see. The gods comment is what it is. Not great, but you're right. He's not going to speak. He's not a
no. He's going to say
a great public speaker.
Yeah, he just kind of says dumb things.
That's a whole other thing, and that's going to be a huge story going into this offseason.
Yeah.
Austin Matthews. I didn't love. They came to the aid of Marner, okay? But again, I don't hear Austin Matthews once talk about he needed to be better and it's on me and I need to lead and I'm going to be here in the summer and I'm going to do whatever it takes. None of that. It's Mitch Marner. People go after Mitch. As long as I've been here, I've realized every year there's a scapegoat that the media goes after and blah, blah, blah. And it's just like, dude, it's boys, it's not hard. It's not hard. Even if you don't believe it, which you clearly don't, say the things to get people off your ass.
Yeah, they do. They want people off their ass, but they don't do what they need to do to get people off their ass. It's like they're dumb.
The King Daddy Topper. And I want to preface this by saying for the last 2 years, this has been a very, very pro William Nylander podcast.
Yeah.
You can't take away from William Nylander that he remains the best playoff performer of the bunch. Even missing games this year, he's the best of the bunch when it comes to stepping up in the big moments. William Nylander's message was essentially what William Nylander said was, well, we were missing me for a few games and we were missing Austin for a few games, but we still took them to game 7 in overtime. Like, what more do you want? I'm sorry?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. And my favorite, we love this group. We love the guys in here.
I hate the word group.
We love this group. We love,
I'm so sick of group.
We love these guys. We this is a tight knit group in here and I love each and every one of these guys. I've heard, and this is going to transition into the captain's quote. I heard a lot of people on sports radio this week saying, do these guys not, Ryan, it's as if they think if you were an alien and you listened to these guys speak, you would think these guys were in game 7 overtime of the Stanley Cup final. They were 1 goal away from winning the Stanley Cup. Do these guys not grasp that you have to, you cannot fathom this group of core guys winning 4 rounds. Look at the Boston Bruins just went through a grueling 7-game series with the Maple Leafs, and we're here in game 2. It's a brawl with the Florida Panthers. Do these guys not grasp that there's 3 more rounds that come after? They don't. And it's clear they clearly don't because the captain, Mr. Robot, we're right there. You're right there? You're right. Getting to game 7 overtime of the first round is right there?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? It's just, it is, I was irrationally angry listening to this on Monday. I was like, I need a few months off of you guys. I can't listen to any of you.
Yeah.
You're all so, man, it's just, There is no accountability in this organization.
Clueless.
None. But none of them. Like, everybody points to the famous Nate McKinnon quote from a few years ago. None of these guys, their brains aren't even close to that. They all seem like, well, we gave it our best shot and we came up short again. But don't worry, in our contract negotiation, we take the organization for every dollar that they have, and we'll come back next year and try our hardest. But that's all we can really do.
Yeah. Just what? Yeah, that game too between the Panthers and the Bruins, like that is just everything you need to know. I walked out of that series hearing about how they got goalied again. They got Jeremy Swayman's been other than Shesterkin's been the best goalie in the playoffs. And Boston goes out and wins game 1. And then game 2 happens. First period, kind of meh. And then the Florida Panthers just decided in their dressing room that we're going to switch up the way we're going to play and we're going to find a way to create offense. And then they proceeded to absolutely cave Jeremy Swayman to get pulled. And I'm watching this going, I don't know. I watched the Florida Panthers do that and I go, even with a new coach, I don't know if this group of guys are even capable of doing that. No. I don't like. It's like they could play the right way. There's
no. I don't know, Ryan. They're not.
I know,
They're
but
not.
like, you could make the argument like they have a new coach in here. They play a new system, then they can get it done. It's like I actually don't think they're capable as hockey players. I know they're skilled and they're amazing, and all you need is skill or whatever. I just don't think they're capable of doing that. Like the Florida Panthers are going, we're not going to let this be an excuse. We're going to go out and we're going to fucking put 4 on the goalie who's apparently unstoppable. It's like, that was the most overrated storyline in that first round. It's like Jeremy Swayman. They got no chances on him. They couldn't even get to the net at all. And then watching the Florida Panthers just absolutely dominate the Bruins to the point where the Bruins looked helpless. It's like, I don't even think these guys, they might be great players and they might be so skilled. I don't think they're capable of doing that. I really don't.
I also want to take my hat off to David Pastrnak. Like, the game was out of reach at that point, but Tkachuk's running around and he's targeting Pasta, and Pasta goes to the bench and he looks at Monty and he's like, I'm doing it. And he kind of got fed his lunch a little bit.
Yeah, he stood in there.
But he said after the game, he's like, I'm not afraid of him, and that was the thing. It's like, I'm not going to let you do this to me.
Yeah.
William Nylander could never. Mitch Marner could never. Austin Matthews. I saw someone on Twitter the other day going, everyone's taking shots at the Leaf star players. Do we not remember Matthews and Stamkos from last year?
Where he was getting punched in the face.
Stamkos literally whipped him around and punched him in the face, and Austin Matthews kept his gloves on.
Yeah.
Do we not? The captain?
yeah.
Like, I'm watching David Pastrnak and I'm just like, it's laughable. Like, there's no way any of these 4 guys, that's your best player, that is like not absolving himself and going, I'm a skilled guy, I don't do that. He's like, I'm not going to let this guy push me around, and I'm sending a message right now, the next 4 games or whatever are not going to go like this. Those guys, man. I think it's best for everybody's sanity that the Leafs ended up losing that first round series, because they are no match for the Florida Panthers.
No.
None.
Absolutely not. It's not even close. So that's why I hear about Jeremy Swayman and I'm like, give me a fucking break. I'm sorry.
Man, I just come away from this thinking like it.
I come away with this thinking that these guys need to be split up immediately. And until they're not, this team is not going anywhere. And someone could have told you that 2 years ago. But like, you listen to their comment. It's just, again, you listen to their comments. These guys are clueless. They have no idea what's going on. They're so defensive. They don't like, these guys are really going to show up. I know there's a lot of things that need to be figured out in terms of no move clauses, whatever. I wouldn't even be surprised if Tavares and Marner play the entire year next year and they just have to punt a year of their so-called window. But there's no way you can come in day 1 training camp. I don't care if Scotty Bowman is the head coach of this team. I really don't.
I agree.
I don't think it matters who they hire, what they do.
Yes, I agree.
These 4 guys looking each other in the face, being like, we can get this done, when they think that, you said it perfectly, they think that game 7 of round 1 is like they actually went somewhere.
Captain says we're right there.
It's like you got 3 wins of 16.
William Nylander's whole vibe was, what more do you guys want? Like we battled back and we pushed it to 7 and we love each other and I wasn't here and Austin wasn't here and
Yeah, it's just
basically piss off was his vibe.
They need to just they need to figure out a way to. I don't care what they get rid of, what they get, what they lose, doesn't matter. They can't do this anymore.
No.
Like defending Marner in the meet. It's like, boys, come on. This is ridiculous. The guy was terrible. I don't know. It's really bad. It's not good. I know people in Columbus are probably watching this being like, what the fuck are you guys talking about? But I just, if you're in this market, you can feel it. You know it. Anyone who's sticking up for these guys is just honestly, I'm kind of jealous that you can have that attitude towards something where you can just be so optimistic and believe in something so much that you can come to the defense of this. There's no defending it. This team isn't going anywhere until 2 of them are removed.
The culture,
not 1, 2 are gone.
The culture, there's just zero accountability within this culture. And you see it with Brendan Shanahan when he sits up there. He's the one that has given these guys just a free pass constantly. You listen to them speak. All of them are just like they have. The vibe I get from them too is the sense of feeling sorry for themselves that they play in a market like this. They all come off like, well, we know Toronto and Toronto's crazy and we just have to put up with it. And
because 2 guys who played in the early 90s who are revered and are legends and no one has anything bad to say about them made it to 2 Western Conference finals and came up short. And guess what? Everyone loves them.
Yes.
Because they laid it out there every single night, and they scored clutch goals. They needed to score clutch goals. They didn't get it done, but it doesn't matter because this market just cares about guys who work their ass off, who play hard, who come up big in big moments. You don't have look at Matt Sundin again, another guy.
I was gonna say, look at a lot of. So you're talking about Wendell and Dougie, but you fast forward to those early 2000 teams. Matt Sundin, legend in this town.
Yeah.
Darcy Tucker,
yeah,
legend in this town.
Don't give me this
Ty
bullshit.
Domi, legend in this town.
Yeah.
Curtis Joseph, legend in this town.
Yeah.
Why? None of them won a cup. None of them.
Yeah.
But all of them laid it up. Darcy Tucker went out there and gave it his all every shift.
Yeah. That's why I think it's absolute bullshit if you think this market is tough to play in. It's no, man, we just want to see guys actually just go out there and give it their all and give it an effort and then after when it's all said and done and you couldn't get it done, we want you to come out and be just take accountability for how you didn't get it done. Come on. This is ridiculous coming out and trying to be Mr. Cool Guy in front of the media being you look like idiots.
I don't know when we're going to do our next episode. Probably when they announce the new coach has been hired, we'll do an episode, but I want to end on this. When Brendan Shanahan took over, there was a sense that, if you remember, it was before they hired Lou, and they'd gotten rid of Dave Nonis, and Kyle Dubas was sort of acting as the general manager at that point in time, and they'd brought Babcock in. And there was a sense that they needed a cultural shift, and they pointed at Phil Kessel as the guy they needed to get rid of in order to change the culture at that time. I believe that we are at a point here now with this group where Mitch Marner is that guy. And I think if you are looking at bringing in a hard-ass coach like Craig Berube, the best way to set them up for success is by removing someone who's basically become the poster boy for entitlement with this current group. And I think it would be a massive mistake to keep him around. I know there's some speculation that, they might just keep him and let him play out his final year of the deal, and because his agent likes to walk his clients to UFA, and that's fine. But then take a 1-year deal and do that at the end of the, trade and play 1 year for somebody and then do that at the end of that. I think it's such a mistake. If you truly want to change the DNA of this team, you have to trade the guy who made the most noise during his contract negotiation and who consistently in the postseason has no-showed when the games matter most.
Yeah.
And who, I'm sorry, where there's smoke, there's fire. You and I aren't insiders. We don't have any inside knowledge of things, but we pay enough attention to the media and what's going on that there's a lot of stories and a lot of rumors about Marner and Marner's camp's behavior behind the scenes. And I just think it's like, it is, you have to move off Mitch Marner. You can't get bogged down in getting this like incredible return. If you're looking at skill in, skill out, there's no way you're winning that trade.
10.9 is all the return I need.
Yeah. Like there's
or
no
saving yourself $12 million re-signing this guy. That is enough return for me. I don't care.
There's no way you're winning that trade. And I think that everyone has to accept the reality of that. And if you're somebody who argues against that and say you can't move a skilled player, then you're not someone who believes. Like, just look at the remaining teams left in the playoffs. Look at the cultures. Look at the teams that are all cup favorites. The Florida Panthers, the Dallas Stars, the Colorado Avalanche. Like, it's just look at the job that Rick Tocchet has done since coming into Vancouver and getting all these guys to buy in. Pettersson is having a Mitch Marner moment right now. Yeah. And they're all rallying and Rick Tocchet has got the rest of that group to step up. I just think it's time. It is a massive mistake. Brendan, butt out. Let Brad do what he's got to do. And you have to get this guy out of your dressing room. You have to.
Well, I mean, I guess that's the upside of hiring Berube. Maybe he comes in and makes all their lives such a living hell that they'll want to leave anyway.
Well, that's part of my concern. Part of my concern is you get a guy like Berube in here and you have Mitch Marner. He's just got such a chip on his shoulder. You can see it. Like,
well, the optimist could literally just take what you just said, and all it took was Rick Tocchet coming in for the Canucks to win a round and be up in the second round. Yeah. And they weren't even in the playoffs. They were awful. Yep. They were terrible. Yeah. So I mean the optimist could make that argument too. The rest of the team
is sort of picking up the slack where Pettersson is sort of not able to. Pettersson is doing a Mitch Marner.
But that also feeds into like, look at all the teams left in the playoffs. They look at the D-cores. Like look at the defensemen making plays.
Look at what a guy
for all these teams, and it's like, well, you can't do that because you're paying 4 dummies a bunch of money and you have no room. Like it's just ridiculous.
Yeah. So anyways, I just wanted to end on that note because I think that is they have to do that. And I also would potentially look at going to John. Like, I would sit John Tavares down and I would go, John,
gotta be honest with him.
Yeah, just say, John, we're not re-signing you. Like, we're not re-signing you. We're not tendering you a $3 million offer. We're not like, we need a clean break. Thank you for your time. Would you like to play out the last year of your deal, or can we look at potentially moving you somewhere? Yeah. Would you be open to potentially retaining salary on John Tavares? Because I think if you're gonna move Tavares, you're moving him with either a top prospect for someone to eat that cap hit. And Easton Cowan got like 6 points in the OHL championship last night.
And I'm watching the highlights being like, this guy just looks like Mitch Marner.
Or would you potentially look at retaining a chunk of Tavares' cap hit?
I don't know, man. I don't know. I guess at that point you'd have to weigh, like, is it really worth? I don't know. I really don't.
I'm not as like,
it's really like, I will say this. It is easy for us to sit here and be like, move this guy, move that guy, move this guy, move that guy. But because of the contracts they signed and the money they doled out, I'm not going to sit here and sugarcoat it. They have a really fucking tough job ahead of them.
Well,
in terms of being honest with people, getting creative, trying to get, like, I don't know. It's a really tough job that they have to do.
Last thing I want to hit on with Marner that I forgot to add there was, if Mitch Marner has anyone around him that has any common sense in their head, they're sitting him down and going, Mitch, let's get out of here, man. Like, it's gotten so sour with the fan base. If it gets out, well, it already has gotten out, but if it really comes out that like negotiations are underway and he's asking for $12 million, the fans are just completely going to revolt against the guy. Like, they already have, but they will even more. Like, if you're him, don't be an idiot. Like, just if they come to you and say, give us a list of 5 teams, give them your list of 5 teams and just do it. Like, just it's It's better for him. It's better for the organization. There needs to be a clean break, and he can go somewhere and have a fresh start. And guess what? You won't have people bothering you after games, especially if you get traded to the right place. I'm sure anywhere, the list of teams that he'll give will be good teams. Like the Vegas Golden Knights will be on that list.
Well, that's the thing. It's like, I've heard people dissect this already. It's like anyone who has any sort of cap space who'd be interested in, because everyone's interested in getting a talented player. Like, don't get me, it's not like other teams are looking at this being like, we wouldn't want that guy. I guarantee there's at least 10 GMs right now. Like, I'll take that guy any day of the week because we don't have any talent on our roster. Yeah. But you look at those teams and most of those teams aren't very good. Yeah. So, I mean, that's going to be the challenging part.
Yeah, like the Leafs are not trading him to the Chicago Blackhawks.
Like Mitch Marner could go to Utah and be the face of that franchise and be beloved for just going there and performing. Yes. But that's probably not going to be on his list.
Think if you're him, you're looking at a team like Vegas or a team that you think can go on a deep playoff run next year.
Yeah, none of those teams have cap space. No, so but good luck.
So it's gonna be interesting. But yeah, I wanted to leave on that note today. Wow. I said last episode that I think this is you and I will be doing more off-season episodes this year, I think, than any other year that we've done them.
I think they should have their head coach within the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, week to 2 weeks. Yeah. Yes.
I think within 2 weeks they should probably have the guy in here, and they got to get that done pretty soon.
Yeah, 100%. So before we get out of here, tons of new subs off the last video as well. Thank you so much. Just want to be transparent up front. Like I said, we're not doing weekly episodes through the off season. We'll be back when there's news to talk about. You can rest assured that if there's a major breaking news with the team, we will be here as quickly after that as we possibly can be. The reason why we operate that way is,
well, we could sit here and speculate about teams that are going to be on Mitch Marner's list, but what do all those things have in common? They're hypothetical scenarios. And you and I just, you know what?
We don't deal in hypotheticals.
It's really hard to sit here and try to come up with a bunch of names and teams and trade opportunities that Mitch Marner can go to. So that's why we don't deal in those type of things.
If you're new to the channel, or if you're watching us and haven't yet, hit the like and subscribe button below. We'll be back around training camp with our regular cadence of episodes. So hop on this ride with us.
Try to hop in there. Spread the word. Tell your friends.
We really appreciate it. We'll see you guys next time.